Governments around the world are scrambling to vaccinate as many of their citizens as fast as possible. But discussions with drug firms seem to have taken a toxic turn, particularly in the European Union. The bloc is threatening to impose restrictions on the export of vaccines produced there to secure its own supply.
The European Union has invested these amounts of money in these companies in order to make sure that it is in a position to receive the doses that it considers necessary for its vaccination campaigns.
It comes amid a dispute with drug maker AstraZeneca. The firm's jab is expected to be approved for use in the EU this week. The bloc ordered 80 million doses to be delivered by the end of March. But the company said it will only be able to deliver 31 million due to production issues.
The European Union wants to know exactly which doses have been produced where by AstraZeneca so far, and if or to whom they have been delivered.
Brussels is also questioning why the UK is getting its deliveries on time. AstraZeneca has a simple explanation. Britain ordered 3 months earlier than the EU. And the firm says vaccines made in the UK will go to the UK, where the virus has killed more than 100,000 people.
Each supply chain was developed with input and investment from specific countries or international organizations based on the supply agreements, including our agreement with the European Commission.
In the US, the new Biden administration is shoring up its own vaccine rollout. It's ordered 200 million doses from Pfizer and Moderna, increasing its expected total to 600 million.
It'll be enough to fully vaccinate 300 Americans to beat this pandemic, 300 million Americans.
As the nations grapple with this pandemic, billionaire philanthropist Bill Gates is calling on governments to start preparing for the next. He says the world needs a multilateral approach that includes testing for new diseases and faster production of new vaccines.
We all want to return to the way things were before COVID-19. But there's one area where I hope we never go back: our complacency about pandemics.
This will cost tens of billions of dollars a year. But Gates says that investment will save the global economy trillions of dollars, millions of lives, and immeasurable misery. Paolo Montecillo, TRT World.
Well, for more, let's go to Dr. Alan Maryon-Davis. He is an honorary professor of public health at King's College, and he joins us now from Salisbury in the UK. Welcome to the program, Doctor. Now, this row between the EU and AstraZeneca was triggered by the drug maker's announcement that its planned deliveries to the continent would be lower than anticipated because of production issues at its plants in both the Netherlands and Belgium. We now know Pfizer and BioNTech are reporting similar issues with their production of their vaccines. Does Brussels need to be more understanding about these unforeseen issues?
Well, I think Brussels and whichever government needs to understand that producing vaccines isn't as straightforward. It's not like making soap powder. It's a biological process. It involves a living cell cultures, and they can be quite temperamental. And it's very difficult for drug companies to predict how quickly it can produce large quantities of vaccines. It's an inexact science. It's a very special science, but it cannot be predicted with total accuracy. So I do think governments around the world need to understand that sometimes delivery of the vaccines and the packaging and all the rest of it and distribution can take much longer than they anticipate.
We know the EU signed a deal with AstraZeneca back in August for 300 million doses with an option of 100 million more. The Anglo-Swedish company says it's been able to meet the UK's order because it was able to sign a deal 3 months before the EU did. Does this dispute simply highlight the uncomfortable truth for the EU that perhaps it was too slow off the mark to secure supplies?
I think they will have to think about that quite carefully, yes, and also how quickly their regulators accept the vaccine as being fully tested and proven. So yes, they'll have to look to that. Of course, the UK government also played a part in the development of the process because it was developed at Oxford University, as you know, in conjunction with the firm AstraZeneca, and the British UK government was involved in that from the very beginning. So there is a sort of a priority in that sense, which is reasonable and fair, it would seem. But yes, I think you're right. Other governments do need to look to see how quickly they can sign deals and how quickly they can approve the vaccination.
Now, the EU is now threatening to restrict exports of vaccines that are produced on their soil. The UK Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, has warned Brussels against such protectionist measures. It's something that's been described as vaccine nationalism. Why is that a problem during this pandemic?
Well, from the public health point of view, and I can only speak from public health rather than political or economic or financial, but from the public health point of view, we would want to see vaccines fairly distributed across all the nations of the world, particularly obviously where the problem is most prolific. So we would like to see fair distribution. And of course, the WHO, the World Health Organization, has set up COVAX, which is an arrangement whereby vaccines from whichever manufacturer are put into a pool and shared across the globe. Because this is a pandemic, it's a global pandemic, and from the public health point of view, we would want all countries, all the peoples of all countries, to be vaccinated against this in a kind of equal and fair manner. Because with travel across countries as much as it is these days, even with restrictions, there's always the risk that you may reduce the level of the virus in one country, but then see it being reintroduced from other countries because they're not keeping pace in terms of vaccinations and control of the virus. So we want to see the whole thing done fairly and equally across all the nations.
Okay, Dr. Alan Maryon-Davis from King's College in the UK. We'll have to leave it there, but thank you again for joining us on the program.